let's talk about the benefits of influencer marketing for your business and why you would want to use this strategy to help you grow your brand. So first of all, influencer marketing can fit into any different stage of your marketing funnel. But one, it really does help grow your brand awareness. It helps get your name out there. It helps build trust with your audience. So can you all think of somebody that you follow online that you are influenced by? I think we could all think of a couple people. Um, I'm not easily influenced, but there are people that I follow, um, and I don't know what it is about them, but there are people that just really capture our attention. We trust what they have to say, and we trust their reviews of brands. So when people talk about these brands that they like, it helps us as a consumer skip a couple stages on the marketing funnel, and go straight into purchasing from that brand when we're ready to buy. Um, Influencer marketing is more direct than advertising. So when you choose to run ads, you can target your audience, but an influencer already has that audience engaged and listening to them, and they're more in tune to what they have to say. So influencer marketing can directly tap into that audience and speak to them. Um, Comparing the costs of influencer marketing versus advertising, if we look directly at like impressions, influencer marketing might have lower impressions and be more expensive, and advertising is a little cheaper but reaches more people. But again, we're targeting and we're already engaged with an audience for influencer marketing, so there's a lot more value there to use influencer marketing than advertising. Next is that you can drive traffic. So I always set up an affiliate program when I'm doing influencer marketing for a client. I like to run them side by side. When influencers can have an affiliate link and earn a commission from their posts for your product, obviously there's a little bit more encouragement there, and they can continue to promote you even after your collaboration if they have like links anywhere, links in their bio or link in a blog or something. So having an affiliate program is always good too. The next thing is that it can help you build your content library. So if you are still trying to create content on your own, and you're struggling to keep up with that, which it's very hard, so don't stress about that. But running an influencer program can kind of do two things at once. Depending on the package that you choose to go with, and their usage rights, you can get content for your brand to post as well. Influencers have a lot of different packages, so sometimes they'll have a rate to just post only on their channels. Sometimes they'll have rates to post on their channels plus give you organic usage, and a lot of people charge extra for advertising usage. So just make sure you're super clear on the usage for the rates or the package that you're giving. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later as well. Another really good benefit of running an influencer program is that you can get feedback on your product or service. I like to build relationships with the influencer, which we'll talk about more too. But obviously, when you give them something, you can ask them for their feedback on how it's going. A really good example of this is with a client that I was working with. They had a web-based app for the wedding industry. It was to help connect brides and introduce all of like the wedding guests at one time, like on this website before they all come to celebrate at your wedding. So I started with this client and was kind of thinking this is a really great platform, but I think it could have better usage for other audiences. And as we learned through this influencer program, that even though we weren't directly being told, this isn't for me, or I don't think this is a good fit, because, you are paying the influencer, so they're typically going to tell you good things. but there will be signs that maybe it's not a good fit and maybe your audience should be changed. For this client, the influencer was barely using the platform, and then the wedding guests were not using the platform at all. So we got indirect feedback that maybe this wasn't a good audience fit. So whether you get it directly from them or indirectly from them, you will get really good feedback on your product as well. Another good benefit of influencer marketing is that it's a very flexible strategy and it can fit into any stage of the funnel that you would like. So it fits into any funnel. It can be really good for brand awareness. It could be really helpful for making sales or growing your audience, making conversions, building trust with your audience. So not only is it flexible as its own, but it's also really great for, when you're working with an influencer, their posts can be really flexible with the goals as well. So I like to work with people more than once to kind of build a relationship with them and for them to build a relationship with their audience for your brand. So when working with them, you want to have different goals throughout their posts as well. So initially, when they first post and introduce your audience, that goal would be for brand awareness, introducing your brand and kind of educating their audience on your product. Then you can choose a different stage of the funnel for their second post, which would be maybe growing your audience. So maybe you want to do like a giveaway with them or have them encourage their audience to follow your brand. So it could be really good for building your brand. And then, of course, if you move farther down the funnel into conversions, the influencer can promote their affiliate link or a custom discount code for their audience, or just something to help you drive traffic to your website. So there are a few great benefits of working with influencers. Okay. Let's talk about creating a strategy for your brand, or for your influencer marketing. For the very first part, you want to set goals for what you want this influencer program to do for your brand. And the first part of that is being very realistic about where your brand is at and what would benefit you the most in this moment. The goal is always to make sales, but sometimes that's not what you need in this moment. So one, just be realistic. Maybe you need to focus on brand awareness. Maybe you need to focus on educating your audience about your product or your service. So just set some goals for what you want to achieve with this influencer program. The next part is setting a budget. Setting a budget for influencer marketing is one of the hardest things you'll ever do because influencer rates are just so all over the place. It's really crazy to see. I've worked with influencers who had 60,000 followers and charged $250 for a post. And just this morning, I got a response from somebody who had $75,000 followers, but wanted $4,500 for a story post, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, influencer rates are all over the place. You never know what you're gonna get from somebody, what their response is gonna be. So I like to set a 12-month budget projection for this program. So that way you can kind of be flexible with your month-to-month budget. So for example, if you have a $1,000 budget you could spend for the next 12 months, let's say the first month you spend $800, the second month you could spend $1,200 and so on. So having like a 12-month projection will really help you be flexible with these wild rates that you're going to see because you never know what you're going to get from somebody. The second part of having goals and a budget is to consider if you want to work with fewer influencers who have a larger following, or if you want to work with more influencers who have a smaller following. So if we're sticking with that $1,000 example, Maybe do you want to work with 2 influencers who charge $500, or do you want to work with 10 influencers who charge $100? There are a lot of benefits to both sides. So just kind of figuring out what you would prefer to do will help you kind of in your budget and your goals as well. Next is creating campaigns. So what this looks like is essentially having content umbrellas that you want your influencers to work under. You don't ever want to give the influencers like hyper specific ideas or scripts or something like that. You want them to create content that's very authentic to themselves and something that they're already used to creating and that their audience is used to engaging with. But you do want to have like a general idea of something that you want them to post. So for example, I'm working with a shoe client right now, and a couple of our campaigns are like spring and summer styles, and women on the go, which is like motherhood and stuff like that. So I have these two like stories that I want influencers to work under. I usually choose like 1 or 2 specific campaigns to send the influencer. And then from that general idea, they're going to give me ideas that will fit their content style, but under the content umbrella that we want them to create. So have your ideas prepared, something that is like promoting your brand at the moment, that's like in season for you, and just more aligned with your brand goals at the time. Within the campaign, you also want to set goals. So are you trying to grow your following, grow your email list, grow conversions, website traffic, whatever that is, have very specific goals. Like, do you want to grow your followers 10%? Do you want to make X $100 of sales? Whatever that looks like, just be really specific on the goals that you want to achieve. Any keywords, relevant keywords that the creators can use in their content, you want to have those figured out. And additionally, you want to have all of your tracking info planned out. So how you're going to track all of this to make this, to make sure that it's working in your favor. So one way is noting all of your social stats before everyone posts. So that way you can see the immediate effect on social media of how that plays. You want to know in advance if you're going to do an affiliate program, so that way they have a link. If you're going to track with a custom discount code for their audience to use. And if none of those, maybe you're giving them like a custom UTM link that you're creating for them to use as well. So just be really clear on what you're going to track and how you're going to track it before getting started. Next is the onboarding process. So I think I mentioned that I like to build a relationship with the influencers. I like to work with them more than one time. And I always start our collaborations with a Zoom call to get to know them, to map out like what a collaboration looks like with us, and have a discussion about what the deliverables will look like. It's so much easier than going back and forth over email. It helps you build a relationship with them. They're going to be the face of your brand and promoting your brand. So you want them to, you want to be on the same page. You want things to be friendly. And you want it to feel more real. So unless you're like a huge brand like Nike or something, not many brands are going to be face to face with the influencer. Not a lot of people take that time to build that connection. So taking the time to do that helps separate you and their mind a little bit. It helps make things feel more real. They get a better understanding of you and your brand. So yeah, plan that out, have an onboarding process to set up time to meet with them. You want to go over how the collaboration will work. So for example, you'll send the contract, and then they get their product, then they you want to have dates for them to send you the content to approve before posting. Then after they've posted, I follow up with them in 7 days to get analytics for their posts, and to then I receive the invoice. So I make sure all of that's secured before paying them. every brand that they work with has a different flow for things. So I like to have that, settled and agreed upon before we get started as well. Lastly, that's when you would send them the contract and tax info if you're paying them over a certain amount, how you're going to get paid. So somebody asked this earlier, is running into a problem with not receiving the content. That's not very fun. It does happen. So the major word of advice that I have for you, if you don't remember anything else today, is to never collaborate with an influencer without a contract in place that specifically lists what they're providing you, who owns the content, how each of you can use the content, and any product or payment that is exchanged. So the issue that somebody experienced was that, they had an email agreement and no contract, but then they sent them the product and then the creator ghosted them. That happens often. It's very annoying and sad. Unfortunately, having written email agreement isn't enough for people. So I always want to have a contract in place. That's another reason why I like to do face-to-face meetings with them so that it feels more real, so that I'm a person to them when they don't just take our stuff and run. If it does happen to you, you can try sending them an invoice. If they don't listen to that, you could take them to small claims court if it's really worth it and you do have some solid proof. But other than that, it's just considered a loss, and why I like to have all of these things set up in place to make it seem more legit. On that same note, I'm going to talk about gifting later, but I'll just mention that now. So if you are gifting a creator, you're simply just gifting them with the hope that they'll post about you. But a gift is just a gift, and that's it. Now, you can work with people for free for product and exchange of content, but you do want to make sure that that's very clear. And then you still want to include a contract, even if there's no actual payment in place and it's just product for content. Okay. But yeah, influencers are something to deal with. It's really an experience. So it's not fun all the time. Okay. Let's talk about finding the right influencers for your brand. This is another question somebody had and was experiencing that they were working with influencers, but they weren't really seeing anything from it. And that's because finding the right influencer for you is really key to the whole thing. So you want your influencer to be very, very aligned with your brand and with your audience. You want your target audiences to be exactly the same. It's not about how many followers they have. It's not about the types of content they create, but just having somebody be very aligned with you. For example of that, the shoe client that I mentioned, we just had a collaboration and it was our first collaboration with her, this creator. She posted a story about us and then posted a reel for us a couple days after. And we made a sale from that first post from her. And I was kind of surprised because one, the shoes are $220, so it's not exactly an impulse purchase. And two, we're kind of a new brand, so I just expected more brand building to happen with these influencer posts. But that's the key, is that this influencer was very aligned with our brand. Her audience was very receptive to our product, and she was already promoting products in our price point. So that's something else really important too, is that her audience saw these shoes for $220, thought no problem, I love them, I trust this creator, I'm gonna buy them. So that was really important and very cool. Let's talk about some other key details to pay attention to when looking for influencers for your brand, so that you do see conversions or any sort of traction from your influencer posts. So first is their target audience. As I mentioned, finding somebody who's very aligned with your target audience. You can find this by one, asking them for their analytics, so they can send you screenshots of their demographics, who follow them and who engage with their content. And two, you can also ask them about who their target audience is, or you can just see by scrolling through their content, look at their comments, see who's engaging with them, make sure people are engaging with them. That's important to look at too. And yeah, so just finding people that are really aligned with your target audience as well. The next thing is their engagement rate. This is way more valuable than their follower count. For example, if you're looking at a creator who has 1,000 followers and gets 100 likes on their content, and you're comparing that to somebody who has 100,000 followers, but also gets 100 likes on their content, you're going to want to choose a smaller creator. If somebody has a very low engagement rate, then that means their audience isn't paying attention to them, or there's just some disconnect happening, and you kind of want to stay away from those creators. So look at their engagement rate. Next is their content types. So what channels are they posting on? What types of content are they creating? Is that already in line with the content that you're creating as a brand? Maybe that's even like your color scheme. You don't want to tell the creator to create something a specific way, because that's not going to come off very authentic in their content and their sponsored posts. So you want to make sure that the people that are creating content for you are very aligned with the content that you want to receive. Next, you want to take a look at their other sponsored posts. So these should be very clearly labeled on their profile. It'll say ad, collaboration, sponsored, partner. Their sponsored posts should be very clearly labeled, and if they're not, you also don't want to work with them because you might get in trouble for not tagging your sponsored posts. So anyways, find their sponsored posts. One, you want to see if, how they're creating the content. So people can be really great at creating their own content, but when it comes to creating sponsored content or kind of scripted content, it just doesn't feel natural to them. So one, what does that look like? And two, how does their audience still engage and interact with that sponsored content? If it's still coming off really authentic, their audience should still be engaging with that. So just make sure that that's happening. Next, make sure that they're posting frequently. Make sure it's been, they've been posting recently, and that it's not been like a month or a year since they've last posted. If you're working with them more than once, you want to make sure that there are more posts in between your sponsored posts. So just make sure that they're posting frequently, that their audience is like is able to stay engaged with them. And that's happening. Next, you want to check their personal values and the things that they talk about and the content that they produce, and make sure that that's aligned with your brand values. Remember that they're kind of the face of your brand. They're representing your brand. So is that somebody that you want to represent your brand? And that just requires some digging through their content, through their captions, just to learn what they're talking about. Next is their rates, usage, rights, and package. So as I mentioned, you're going to get a variety of results or like feedback from them on what their rates are. Obviously, you just want to find people that fit in the budget that you want to spend. Make sure that you are getting what you want out of that. If you are looking for organic content to use as well, just make sure that that's included in the package. Just be super clear about what you're getting from that rate. There have been a few people that have joined recently, so I just wanted to remind you guys that you're welcome to ask questions or anything along the way as well. Okay, so grading a system. Also for the new people that joined, I'm talking about a workbook that I created. It's $10 on my website, but this link right here. I'll just drop it in again. We'll give you the workbook for free. And here's a little bit what that looks like. So if you fully dive into influencer marketing for your brand, there's going to be so much information. There's going to be so many people to track. They're all going to be in different stages of your collaboration. So having a system in place to track all of that is very, very important, because if you're just keeping all this in your emails, you will forget, and they will definitely forget. So have a system in place, whatever that looks like for you. So this is what we use at my agency. It's on Airtable, which is a free platform as well. But here I just keep track of their name, where they're at in the collaboration, their deliverable requirements, what they're supposed to send me, when they're supposed to send it by, the campaign that they're working on, analytics. I have like a check-in date so I can easily see when I need to reach out to somebody. And then I have like their results there so I can easily reference that. Usage rights, because you don't want to accidentally use something you're not supposed to, so make sure that that's clear for you to find. But yeah, you just want everything to be really accessible and easy to see, because as I mentioned, influencers are not gonna follow up with you most likely. So you do have to be on top of it. Okay.
Thank you. Is there any way that make it like automations, or do you actually
Hmm.
each one you type in?
I'm sure you could. So have you used Airtable before?
No.
Okay. So Airtable is free, and then they do have paid like upgrades, which honestly I've not really dove into that much, but I would be certain that they do integrate with like Zapier or something that you could use to automate a lot of this. I guess the tricky part would be is that you're kind of doing most of this through email, so it's like them responding to you, and then you would kind of just go into this platform and update based on their response. Um, but I'm sure there are ways to update it. I mean, to automate it. But that being said, it's really not as overwhelming as it looks to keep track of everything. I mean, it just takes me like seconds to kind of like read the response and update it. But yeah, I'm sure there are ways to automate it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
thank you. Like, how many influencer do you work with in a month, let's say?
yeah, so that really depends on your budget and your goals. So right now the client that I mentioned, the shoe client, her budget is $1,000. So um, with that, I've been able to work with about 2 or 3 people. So about like $300-400 per post from the influencers. You can find people that will do less, that you can like, you can collaborate with for less money. There are people that will want more money. So just kind of like however many you can fit within your budget. Um, and two, to kind of go back and talk about the differences between working with um, fewer influencers who have a larger following versus um, more influencers who have a smaller following. So influencers with a higher follower count typically have a lower engagement rate. So working with them is going to be really good for like brand awareness and getting your name out there, and kind of just building trust because you're working with a larger influencer. But if you want to really focus on like conversions, micro influencers and smaller influencers are really good at that because their audience, they have more people engaged and tuned into what they have to say. Um, so yeah, so however many influencers you can work with in your budget and want to work within your budget, I just recommend going for it because you can't work with too many. That's not possible. So it's always good to have more.
True. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let's see. Last thing for me, if I can get it. Okay. So As I mentioned, working with influencers, the budget's all over the place. But you can still do this if you have a very small budget or no budget. This is all very possible. You will find people that are open to posting in exchange for products. A lot of people might have a lower rate than you expected. So I always recommend just reaching out to whoever you want to work with because you never know what they're going to say back. Um, a lot of people are also really willing to negotiate. So if you offer a lower price for like a bundle deal, say you want to do 3 posts with them, or offer in exchange for product and tell them the value of the product. Don't be afraid to negotiate with people. They're very open to that. But just be careful of like lowballing them. They do have a big audience, so we don't want to we want to stay on good terms, but be be open to negotiating because they are as well. But let's say you have no budget, you can offer to gift products. As I mentioned, gifting is simply gifting, so you're not expecting content in exchange. You're just offering them a gift and hoping that they post about it on their channel. You can offer them to post, exchange content for product, as we talked about earlier too. Another thing is that if they do have this higher rate than you anticipated, you can make sure that you are able to get the content to own or to use organically. So that kind of helps offset this budget shock, is that knowing that you're getting this content as well. If you are working with people who maybe want to negotiate the rate down more, or you want to offer the product in exchange for content. That's another good reason to have an affiliate program because that gives them commissions, so they're more likely to work with you with that as well. And yeah, but it's pretty likely that you'll find people to work with in exchange for product. So if you don't have a big budget, that is all fine. It just might take a while to find them. And it also kind of depends on your industry as well. I mentioned the wedding industry client, so a lot of brides that aren't typically like full-time influencers, that was really easy to find people with lower rates or with people that would just be willing to try out the platform. With this shoe client though, in the fashion style world, everybody there is an influencer, so it's very hard to find people for lower rates or for people that will want to exchange for product. So your industry really plays a role in that as well. But okay, that is all that I have to share with you, but I would love to hear if you guys have any questions or thoughts or anything like specific that you're interested in for your business.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So as I told you earlier, I own beauty um business
Mhm.
offering lashes and brows stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of influencer is a good match to
Mhm.
work with?
Let's see. So that was pretty fun because you could be really flexible with that. You could find people who are promoting beauty, like skincare. Alan, I see your question. I'll get to you after this. So yeah, you can find people who are interested in beauty and are promoting beauty, skincare, fashion, style. You could really go on any direction. You could go with people who promote like moms too, people that want to be um looking good but don't have the time to do it. So people like that. You could really with that, you could go all over the place, but you just want to make sure that, one, so I'm assuming you have a physical location, so you would want to make sure that the influencer's in your location, and focusing on your target audience as well. Maybe their age, you
Mm-hmm.
want to pay attention to their age. But other than that, I think you can be pretty wide on who you're targeting. Alan asked, how do you
Thank
know
you.
the right influencer to hire even though they have good numbers and great content, but you are not sure if the friends and followers they have are real? Okay, this is a very, very good question. So yeah, everybody buys their followers, right? That's almost guaranteed. But here's a few ways to tell if the followers are fake. So one, they have a low engagement rate. That'll tell you that a lot of their followers are bot accounts. Um, their engagement rate, they're like, I don't know how to find the numbers myself. I'm not a math person, but if you Google engagement rate calculator, you will find a ton of different websites that will calculate their engagement rate for you. There are also like web-based apps that tell you if their followers are real. Same thing, just Google, what would you Google? Like follower check or something. It can be very vague. I promise one will pop up right away. But that'll check to make sure that their followers are real and legit for you. So one, check their engagement rate. Another thing that you do want to check is their comments. So a lot of people are in like engagement pods. Um, and that's so annoying. So you'll notice this by reading their comments on their posts. And if you see the same names over and over and over and over again, they're in an engagement pod, and that means that their followers and that their engagement is kind of manufactured, and they're not reaching a real audience. So check their engagement rate calculator, check, use the apps to find fake followers, and then read through their comments to make sure that they're reaching a variety of people and not just cycling through this pod of people. Any other questions or anything you've experienced with influencer marketing? Yeah. I've been checking on the followers and I have been getting, and they look fake. Oh, the followers that you have personally been getting from the influencer posts. Okay, yeah. So that's a sure sign too. Um, when you look through their lead form, yeah, Facebook's really bad about bot accounts. Facebook, Instagram, I mean, they're all really bad with bot accounts now. And it's really just annoying. And unfortunately, there's not a lot that you can do about it, but I just remove them from my followers. You can report them, but that's like throwing a glass of water on a fire. But yeah, when you look at their profile, that's how you know is that they have no real photos. Maybe they'll have 6 photos. They always have like 6. Their name isn't their username is gonna be this like some weird scramble of numbers and letters. They probably don't have a profile photo. Um, their followers versus following count is always high, so they're gonna have like 2 followers and they're gonna be following like thousands of people. That's how you know that they're fake accounts. So yeah, if you are working with an influencer or you're running ads or you're doing anything and you're getting this influx of bot accounts following you, stop working with the influencer, pause your ad, and kind of reassess what's happening there, which could be a number of things. But weird that you're getting them from lead forms on Facebook. That's not very fun at all.
Yes, I think speaking of the like finding the right influencer, I have like in the past worked with an influencer where she has like 8,000 followers and the engagement rate is really high.
Mhm.
Like it has around 200 each post. And when I analyze more, people who follow on her account are fellow influencers. So
Mhm.
I knew that after I worked with her, and the the outcome that I got was like I didn't get any sales from like working with her. So I
Mhm.
think like having a high engagement rate doesn't really guarantee the result.
Mhm. Yeah, so yeah, as I mentioned, these people kind of join like engagement pods, and it's all these people that like want to be influencers, and so they just kind of like join each other to like boost each other up. Um, and yeah, so when you look at the engagement rate, I mean, at the end of the day, you're never gonna know until you do it. And so you can do hours of research on somebody, and then you could be so sure about the collaboration and then it flop. Um, because yeah, you can't figure out everything. But the one way to find that is to ask them for their analytics, which will show like the accounts that they've reached and like it'll give you an actual number of people that are engaging with them. So that'll help with that a little bit. Because obviously if they have like thousands of people that they're reaching, they're not in this giant, massive pod of 1,000 people. So some of that is real. And then checking the comments too, like I mentioned, and just making sure that not this like constant pod of people are always engaging with them and that their comments are coming from a mix of people. Um, But I mean, yeah, influencer marketing takes time, more time to do research on the person than it does to like get it going. And even with all of this research, you still don't really know, just like anything else, what's going to happen until you do it, which is not fun. But on that same note, if you're feeling unsure about somebody, a lot of people will be open to lowering their rate if it's your first collaboration. Some people will be open to like testing your products, and posting about it before like doing an official collaboration. So that could be a way to kind of feel things out, is to gift them product, um, for them to post on their story and kind of just do a small test to see if people will interact with your content. Give them a link so that way they can add that to their stories too. You can kind of do small tests with them too to see if that, to make sure it's a good collaboration for you.
Before they post, do you always make sure that do you like the content?
Yes, so before they post, it's required of them to send me the content along with the caption that they're posting. Um, I have rarely asked them to change things in the content itself. Sometimes I change things up in the caption, but we just want to make sure that one, it is what you want it to be. Two, that they're saying the right things about your brand. But yeah, you just want to have a heads up about what's coming out there. Um, but typically everything's fine, which is why we do the onboarding process and meeting with them so that they there's a very clear understanding of what's coming. Um, but yes, have them send you the stuff before they post because you never know what what they could do.
Yeah, thank you. Because sometimes there was a result that I could see they didn't put so much effort, but we didn't have so much meeting before. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing that you'll see sometimes, and it's really mind-blowing because some people, I mean, this is like a full-time job for some people. They make good money from it, but they're just sending you like this half-ass content, and you're just like, that's not worth my money. So ask them, yeah, be very clear about what's coming. Make sure that they send you the content before they post. Make sure it's up to your standards. Um, and that's why I also don't like to pay until the end as well, because If it's not what I want and they're not open to doing revisions, then we just don't move forward with a collaboration.
Yeah, it's really good to know that, we have an option that we can pay in the end.
Mhm.
So you pay before the content is published, right?
I typically pay after. So the timeline is I send them the contract, they sign and return, then I'll send them the product, and then they'll send me the content to review. They post the content 7 days after the post has gone live. I follow up with analytics, asking for analytics, and then when they send me the analytics back for the post, that's when they can send me the invoice and we'll pay it then.
Mhm.
And that's a pretty common method. A lot of people pay after the content's gone live, so you might not see you might see some like pushback on that, but not a lot. Most people are used to getting paid after it's gone live, which is another reason to have the contract in place, so it protects both of you and they feel comfortable, you feel comfortable, and everything is good. Cool. Well, we're coming up on time. Does anybody have any other questions or anything else?
I wonder if you mind, but can I say if some of your business can collaborate together, please hit me up.
Sorry, can you say it one more time?
If any of your business can collaborate with my beauty business, if you
Oh.
think, please hit me up.
Sure, yeah. Did you drop your links in the chat for me and we'll stay connected?
Thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for being here and asking questions. And again, if you need anything, my links are in the chat. I'd love to stay connected with you all. The next workshop is April something. I'll look up the date, but it's about SEO. So if that is of any interest to you, April 19th is a Friday. We'll be doing SEO for your website and for your social media. You can register for that on Meetup or on my website. And I look forward to staying connected with you guys online in the meantime. But thanks again for being here. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.